Welcome to Over 50 So What? Fun, fitness, wellness and inspiration. This show is for all of us over 50. I'm Carol. Now, who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks? I learn something new every single show. Most of us are concerned about memory loss as we get older, and today we chat to Dr Michael Elstein about what to do if you think you or one of your loved ones is starting to experience some memory loss. One great thing for the brain is exercise. So join us after the break in the 5-minute fitness segment. It's fun and it's easy. And lastly, we meet some inspiring men and women from the JB Square Wheelers. Age, vision and lack of dance ability are no excuse not to get out and have some fun. We take a sneak peek into the world which is square dancing. Today on Energy for Life, we continue our conversation with Dr Michael Elstein, specialist in anti-aging and longevity medicine. We're going to continue our discussion about dementia, short-term memory loss and Alzheimer's. Dr. Elstein is a fellow of the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine and the Australian College of Nutritional and Environmental Medicine. He has presented to numerous seminars around the world and has written multiple books, including The Wellness Guide to Preventing the Diseases of Aging, You Have the Power, and Eternal Health. Hi Michael, welcome back to Over 50 So What? Always a fantastic pleasure to have you chatting with us.
Very much.
Now, last time we discussed about Alzheimer's, dementia and some of the tests and assessments and some of the strategies for handling that. What signs should we look for in ourselves and others?
As we get older, our memory does deteriorate and you remember less well, and you have these tip of the tongue experiences where you can't remember celebrity names. But if your memory is starting to compromise you a lot on a daily basis, and people are remarking about it, so people are noticing you just aren't remembering things a lot and it's affecting your job, that's a real concern. You don't want to get to that stage. You want to short circuit that and stop yourself before that happens. But unfortunately, a lot of people, that's what happens. Their memory deteriorates a lot, and that's when, unfortunately, they have significant brain damage then, and it's difficult to reverse. But that's when people go and see the doctor, and then you can be referred to a neurologist. Neurologist is a brain specialist, and usually that will involve scans. You can have various scans of the brain, CAT scans, and what's called an MRI scan and other scans. And you can also have a comprehensive assessment done by a neuropsychologist. So that's a psychologist who specializes in brain function. And that will involve about quite a long battery of tests where you'll have your memory assessed in various ways. But as I said before, you don't want to get there. You want to preempt that by looking after your brain super well before you get to the stage where your memory is deteriorated dramatically. Sadly, that's what happens. That's when people see the doctor.
Yeah, so I mean, for the person who's suffering or experiencing that short-term memory loss, you might just keep asking the same question over and over again, but not be aware that you've asked that question 1 minute ago. So it's probably more likely that someone else will observe it in you rather than you observe it in yourself. Would that be a fair comment?
Yeah, so people notice that you keep on repeating yourself and it's getting a bit boring. And then, I do that myself. So to my loved ones, I repeat stories. Did I tell you about blah, blah, blah? And I go, yeah, you told me about that. But if it becomes a lot, accentuated, and you're doing it a lot and often, then that's not good.
And you have to keep writing things down. That's probably some other sign that you have to start writing things down so you don't forget them. Yes. Unfortunately, there's a lot of men in particular, and I don't mean to stereotype, there's probably a lot of women in this category, but they've maybe got a family history of Alzheimer's and dementia, and they probably noticed themselves, their memory is declining, but they're just too proud to go and talk to the GP or mention it? What advice have you got for those people?
That's a hard one, how do you, and often I get that, the man comes to see me and he goes, my wife told me to come, and he has no desire to be there, and he doesn't think there's anything wrong. So how do you deal with those two things? It's very difficult and sad. Men are becoming a bit more aware that they need to be looking after themselves preemptively before they deteriorate dramatically. But it's hard to do something for someone who doesn't think there's anything wrong. But sadly, I had this a while back. I remember we did some tests, and that's when you need to do, unfortunately, scans of the brain to see how much the brain has shrunk. And if it's shrunk excessively, that's not a good thing. And blood tests, like we talked about, the vitamin levels and other things that you need for the brain, and hormones. So all those things are important to look at. But also, we've got to try and discourage people from drinking so much alcohol, because, as you know, we live in a culture where there's a lot of alcohol consumption. And while a little bit of alcohol can be okay, once you get beyond 1 or 2 drinks, 2 or 3, that's also not so good for the brain. So we've got to try and encourage men, especially, and even women now, to consume less alcohol and to look after themselves better.
For someone who's got a loved one, they've observed, some memory loss. So you say they're sending their husbands in or whatever. If you have someone, how do you approach the topic with your loved one or your friend or family member and encourage them to seek getting some tests done?
It's a good question. I'm not sure I know how. How do you say to someone, look, darling, I'm worried about your brain. You better go to the doctor and have some scans to make sure you don't have the big D, or if you want, I don't know, call it memory loss. Don't use the word dementia. Okay, that'll frighten them. So you can't say to your husband, darling, I think you've got dementia. No worries. All you have to do is go to the doctor, and then we'll know for sure how much your brain is damaged. I don't know how do you put all that across without upsetting someone? Have you had this, Carol? Because I don't know. Do you have any sense of what you need to be telling someone? Are you worried about?
I would say, darling, I've noticed that you had forgetting things from time to time. Maybe you need to go and talk to the GP to see if you've got any memory issues.
Yeah. And that's when, if the gentleman does come to see me, then I probably will, for the most part, I might do the blood tests, those things, sugar and insulin and B vitamins and hormones. Some of the things are very basic. And by the way, there's a very important chemical you need to assess for the brain called homocysteine. Homocysteine is also bad, like cholesterol, it's bad for the brain. You can do a blood test, and if you've got too much homocysteine, that can lead to brain degeneration, and there's ways to reduce homocysteine levels with B vitamins. We need to be doing all these things as a wellness assessment. But sadly, when you go to the doctor and your memories are really quite bad, you can do these nutrients and homocysteine and cholesterol and blood pressure and all those things. But usually you'll need to send the doctor to a neurologist and possibly a neuropsychologist for further assessment.
To sum up with, what are your top strategies to keep your brain as healthy as possible?
Healthy diet, very, very important for the brain. A really good diet, organic if you can, getting all the nutrients your brain needs, fruits, vegetables, protein, very important for the brain, eggs, meat, fish, or beans. Fatty acids, olive oil, fabulous. Pour olive oil on your food. Fish, nuts, seeds, avocado, great for the brain. Exercise, well, we love it. You love exercise, I know that, Carol, because you're a dancer and you do all that stuff. And then engage your brain, all these things, piano playing, crosswords, learning a new language, staying professionally engaged, socially engaged, intellectually reading. Keep your brain stimulated. We don't have to watch television so much. Read a book.
And then if you do notice a decline in yourself or others, what are some basic steps to do?
I think then you need to go and see a doctor. You need to have the tests, as I say, and it'll usually involve scans of the brain and other tests. You might need to see a neuropsychologist for a proper memory assessment, and that can be a very useful thing to do. And those tests will usually indicate where you're at, where your brain's at.
And it's been fantastic. I look forward to hearing about whatever new book you're going to come up with.
I really loved it. So thanks, Carol. Really
Thanks for watching our TV show. Be sure to hit subscribe and then you'll never miss an episode. Jump on Facebook, join our group, get in on the fun, fitness, wellness and inspiration. I'm Carol, over 50, so what?